Thank you. At this time, I would like to convene this meeting of the Board of Trustees. Reminder to everyone that this meeting is being recorded and live streamed to the public by WOSU. I want to start today by recognizing Governor DeWine's appointment of our newest undergraduate student trustee, Tanner Hunt of Westerville. Tanner, are you zooming in with us today? It doesn't look like it. Tanner is currently working toward a Bachelor of Science degree in Health Information Management and Systems with a minor in business. His ultimate goal is to pursue a career in the healthcare industry that will allow him to improve quality of care while also making care more affordable. Very noble goals indeed. He is currently on a research trip in Alaska, so he's had difficulty today trying to make communications. Our first order of business is the approval of our May board meeting minutes, which were distributed to all trustees. If there are no additions or corrections, the minutes are approved as distributed. Any additions or corrections? Okay, they are approved. Now we have a very special presentation today. Every year, the board looks forward to hearing about the impressive scholarship of Ohio State's distinguished university professors. We're thrilled to have this year's honorees with us in person. And to make it even more special, our honorees will be introduced by the university's new Executive Vice President and Provost, Dr. Melissa Gilliam. This is, I believe, Dr. Gilliam's third week in Ohio State, and we feel very fortunate that she has decided to join the Buckeye family. I know Dr. Gilliam has already been introduced during our Wexner Medical Center board meeting, and again during our Academic Affairs and Student Life Committee meeting, so I will keep this brief. But I do want to acknowledge her exceptional accomplishments as a researcher, educator, and higher education leader. Dr. Gilliam came to Ohio State from the University of Chicago, where she made her mark in a variety of areas, from faculty development to graduate student mentoring to diversity and inclusion. She is also a highly accomplished physician who has maintained a lifelong dedication to service. And we're very pleased to officially welcome her to the Ohio State University. Dr. Gilliam, I will turn the floor over to you so now that you may introduce our distinguished university professors. Dr. Gilliam.
Thank you, Chairman Heminger. So one of the great excitements for me and one of my first acts as provost is to have the honor of introducing our distinguished university professors to the Board of Trustees and to the public. This title is the highest honor conferred on our faculty members. In fact, including today's honorees, only 68 faculty have received this distinction. So it is indeed a privilege to share this celebration with our honorees. Professor Martha Shamala and Professor Umit Ozkan, and the special guests who are with them today. The Distinguished University Professor Award is the successor to the Presidential Professorship Program and the University Professorship Program, which were introduced in 1987 by Provost Miles Brand to honor preeminent faculty. The selection process is rigorous. Each August, the Office of Academic Affairs sends a call for nominations to recommend faculty members for this honor. Department chairs, school directors, or faculty award committees forward their nominations to their college deans. Deans develop a college review process, solicit support letters, and forward their final nomination decisions to the Office of Academic Affairs. Vice Provost Helen Malone, who is the Vice Provost for Academic Policy and Faculty Resources, oversees this program. The selection committee members were chosen from the President's and Provost Advisory Committee, and all four are distinguished university professors themselves. I'd like to thank the committee co-chairs, Ruth Kolker of the Moritz College of Law, Stephen Ringel of the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering, as well as the other members, Frederick Luis Aldama from the Department of English, and Yusuko Rikusa, sorry, I mispronounced, from the Department of Veterinary Biosciences. Our new distinguished university professors will receive a one-time $30,000 cash award to support their scholarly pursuits and will immediately become members of the President's and Provost's Advisory Committee. Members of the Board of Trustees, it is my honor to recommend two esteemed colleagues for the designation of distinguished university professors. Martha Shamalas the Robert J. Lynn Chair in Law at the Moritz College of Law, and Umit Ozkan, a College of Engineering Distinguished Professor and Chair of the William Lowry Department of Chemical and Biomolecular Engineering. Would the two professors please come forward and join me at the speaker's table? Thank you. You can sit at this table here. Good. To bring a bit more context to our ceremony, we'll have two short videos about our distinguished university professors. We will start with Dr. Shamalas.
When I came to Ohio State, I was already, well into mid-career. I really came for the faculty. And I knew that I could walk down the hall, bounce ideas off of them, read their manuscripts, and take my research to the next level. What's been an absolute pleasure have been the students. Every year, I teach a seminar on cutting edge topics. And the students in the class kind of reframe the syllabus for me to discuss what they think is the most pressing issue. In my future, I see trying to translate my ideas into policy prescription and real programs and change. And it's nice to know that even though one is at, the senior level, that things still are going strong.
Thank you. President Johnson, I give you the honor of presenting Professor Shamalas with the Distinguished University Professor Medallion.
Thank you so much for that gracious introduction, Provost Gilliam. I want to start by saying just how thrilled I am to be honored today, and I'm so grateful to be named a distinguished university professor at a university that I have really come to love in the past 20 years that I've been a faculty member at the Moritz College of Law. I have been a law professor for over 40 years. I've taught at nearly a dozen law schools, both in the United States and abroad. And I've experienced many different school cultures and environments, some quite good, some not so good. But as a lawyer, I can tell you that I would not hesitate to sign an affidavit swearing that Ohio State has been by far the most supportive institution of the lot. It's given me the opportunity to do my best work, no matter how long it took. And it's enriched my life immeasurably by surrounding me with brilliant colleagues and a never-ending supply of creative and energetic students. I'll have a little bit more to say about that in a moment, but I wanted to tell you just a little bit about the nature of my work. From my early stages of my career, I've taught in 3 different fields: tort and personal injury law, anti-discrimination law, and feminist and critical legal theory. Now, most lawyers and academics don't see much in common in these areas. Tort law is located on the private law side, while feminist theory and anti-discrimination law is on the public law side. I'm probably best known as a scholar who's tried to bring the two sides together to reveal the connection between civil rights and civil wrongs. Now, as a scholar, I learned a lot from practicing lawyers, and I've tried to create theoretical models to fit the needs of injured persons who become litigants in a court case. The most important example in my career of practice informing theory occurred when I was on a task force for gender and race bias in the judicial system for the state of Iowa. I discovered that lawyers and forensic experts would routinely take into account a person's gender and race to calculate damages in civil trials. For example, to determine lost future earnings of a female accident victim, the experts were in the habit of consulting gender segregated statistical tables, which predicted that women on average would spend fewer years than men in the workplace, based largely on a discriminatory history of women workers having to leave their jobs or interrupt their careers when they gave birth or engaged in child rearing. This difference in what is called work-life expectancy had a huge impact for damage awards, resulting in significantly lower awards for women than for similarly situated men with the very same injury. Likewise, the awards for African-American men were devalued by relying on race-based statistics that predicted fewer years in the workplace based on higher levels of incarceration for their racial group. I thought of this as an instance of explicit discrimination, but being hidden in plain view through a maze of statistics. And because personal injury lawyers were unfamiliar with the principles and norms of civil rights law. So in my scholarship, I've tried to develop a theory of race and gender equity to demonstrate that such calculations are fundamentally biased, and I argued unconstitutional. Over the years, I've worked with public interest groups, state legislatures, members of Congress to help draft legislation to prohibit the use of biased tables. And I've worked with forensic economists on the other side to develop new models of loss appraisals that are truly race and gender neutral. It's been a slow, uneven process. Sometimes my proposals were adopted, perhaps most notably by Kenneth Feinberg in his administration of the September 11th Compensation Fund, and the California legislature most recently. But there's been no comprehensive change on the federal level. Sound familiar?
Mhm.
So my work on damages set me on a very long path to investigate other tort doctrines which disadvantage women and minorities, scaling up my work to look at how the very basic building blocks of tort law often perpetuate systemic bias. But they can be and should be reformed to promote social justice, and could be given the flexibility of the common law system of civil justice. As I think about my career, I'm amazed at how fortunate I've been. Timing is everything. I came into law teaching just when women were first being hired. When I was hired on the LSU faculty, I was only the third woman ever to have taught law in that school. And throughout my career, I've been part of a cadre of growing number of feminist scholars. We first taught women in the law, then we called it sexuality in the law, then we were bold enough to call it feminist legal theory. We had to be creative because there really was no established body of research to build upon. Sometimes my scholarship was marginalized. I didn't get wonderful awards in the start of my career, but I've always been fortunate and happy to teach and write about what I felt passionate about and to build deep relationships with students who literally went on to change the world, becoming prosecutors, judges, activists, and the next generation of feminist scholars. I know that it's conventional wisdom that nurturing good scholarship takes time and money. And that's certainly true. At Moritz, I've taken advantage of every research opportunity, leave that I've been given. But even more important than the leave time has been the culture of support, respect, and opportunity that has made Moritz and Ohio State different and better than other educational institutions I've been associated with. The law faculty is simply great. I've worked with so many faculty colleagues who make the college vibrant, intellectual, and ever changing. And I'll also say that during my tenure, the leadership of the college has also been exceptional. I've served on the appointments committee so many times that I feel personally invested in our new faculty in a way that renews the spirit and pays dividends that last for decades. And most importantly, I'm grateful to my students who never seem to lose the capacity to instill hope in all of us, despite the Great Recession, bruising culture wars, and a global pandemic. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'd like to complement your words with just a little more about your background. Professor Chambliss, as you can tell, is a brilliant scholar, and her theoretical insights have restructured the basic tenets of law. As you've heard, she was at the forefront in recognizing racial and gender biases in the way the court calculates awards in tort cases. And as you've heard, she's been central to processes such as the 9/11 Compensation Fund. In 2000, Professor Chambliss was elected to the American Law Institute, the legal field's equivalent to the National Academies of Science and Engineering and Medicine, and is a member of the governing board of the American Association of University Professors Legal Defense Fund. And she joined Ohio State as professor in 2002 and was named a university's distinguished lecturer in 2006 and a university distinguished scholar in 2013. She's written 5 books, taught as a visiting professor at Harvard, the University of Tennessee, Washington University, Tel Aviv University, and the University of Ghent, and has delivered scholarly papers around the world. So thank you very much. Our next award goes to Professor Umit Ozkan. Can we please show the video?
I came to Ohio State in 1985 as a very young assistant professor. And I stayed on. I never looked at any other institution, and I never considered moving. And it has been a great journey. In 1985, I was the first woman faculty to be hired to the department, but it was a very supportive, nurturing, collegial atmosphere. I became the associate dean for research in the College of Engineering for 5 years. So I was the first in many things. I love teaching. If I see that I'm, getting through and explaining some difficult concept well, it just energizes me. I think that's what really keeps me going. I will continue doing my research. I will continue teaching. I'm about halfway through my term as the chair. So this is still just as exciting as it was in the very first day.
Professor. Congratulations. Professor Ozkan's career is truly exceptional. She is internationally recognized and highly cited in the field of heterogeneous catalysis and electrocatalysis, where her work focuses on unraveling the complex processes that mediate chemical and electrochemical reactions. Specifically, she is known for groundbreaking research that explores the nature of active sites on catalyst surfaces. Her goal ultimately is to design catalysts with the desired molecular architecture for specific reactions. There are many applications. For example, in catalytic water treatment to decontaminate groundwater, and in the development of alternative electrocatalyst materials for cleaner, environmentally friendly fuel cells. When Dr. Ozkan was hired in 1985 as an assistant professor, she was the first woman to join Ohio State's chemical engineering department. And she was the only woman on its faculty for 19 years. She was the first woman to serve as associate dean for research at the college and the first woman to serve as the chair of her department. She has received every major award the college offers. She has produced more than 200 refereed publications, 7 patents, 15 books and book chapters, and over 140 keynote lectures to her credit. She is a fellow of the American Chemical Society, American Institute of Chemical Engineers, the American Institute of Chemists, and the American Association for the Advancement of Science, and serves on the editorial boards for 10 of the top journals. Please join me in showing our appreciation for distinguished university professor Umit Ozkan.
Thank you very much, Provost Gilliam, for that wonderful introduction. When I was thinking about where to start, I thought I would go back to my childhood years, going back all the way to Turkey. So my story is an immigrant story. I grew up in Turkey as the youngest of 3 daughters in a middle-income family. We don't have a lot of material things, but there was a lot of love in the family. And maybe more importantly, there was a love of education and learning, which was instilled in us by our parents. My interest in math and science, which led me to choose chemical engineering as my major, was fully supported by my parents. They also supported me when I decided to fly away from the nest and pursue my graduate studies here in the United States. So I will always be grateful to my parents for allowing me to pursue my dreams, even when it meant sending their youngest daughter to a faraway land more than 4 decades ago. My journey at Ohio State started in 1985 when I joined the faculty in chemical engineering as a young assistant professor. I keep repeating the young part, but I found that I could really fulfill both of my passions here, teaching and research. As a teacher, I taught thousands of undergraduate and graduate students. I believe I touched their lives, but more importantly, they touched mine. They enriched my life in more ways than I can possibly describe. The most gratifying part of this journey has been seeing these 18, 19, 20-year-olds grow to their full potential and become very successful professionals in their own rights. Among them, CEOs, vice presidents, entrepreneurs, academicians, policymakers. And it is the biggest gift to me when they return to Ohio State and talk about what a difference I made in their lives, whether it was through a lecture in the classroom, which either inspired them or maybe explained a difficult concept, or perhaps through an after-class conversation, which eased their self-doubt and encouraged them to stick with the program that they were struggling in. I also had the good fortune to do research in areas that impact our everyday lives. My research is in the areas of heterogeneous catalysis and electrocatalysis. Over the years, we worked on novel catalyst development for emission control, for hydrogen production from biomass, for treatment of water contaminated with chlorinated hydrocarbons or aromatics, both of which pose significant health hazards for millions of Americans. We developed novel electrocatalysts for PEM fuel cells to replace platinum as a catalyst. Our catalyst is about a fraction of the cost of platinum, but it has comparable catalytic activity. And more importantly, this technology is licensed to a local company here in Columbus, Ohio, which was started by one of my former PhD students who turned out to be a brilliant researcher and a brilliant entrepreneur. Another project we're working on is related to producing ammonia electrocatalytically. Ammonia is used in several industrial sectors, including transportation, agriculture, pharmaceuticals, even as a potential hydrogen storage medium for the energy sector. Currently, ammonia is produced through a very old technology, Haber-Bosch process, which is an old technology. It is very energy intensive. It requires high temperatures, high pressures, and pure hydrogen. In our technology, if we are successful, we will be making ammonia out of water and nitrogen. So I'm super excited about it. A more recent focus of our research is converting or upcycling waste or end-of-life plastics to their original building blocks so they can be used again for several different chemical processes. So many interesting and really important research problems and research ideas, and so little time. I was extremely fortunate to work with more than 100 extremely talented young men and women in my research group, including PhD students, postdoctoral fellows, undergraduate researchers, and they came from all parts of the world. My research group is like a mini United Nations. They're the ones who keep motivating me by their curiosity, their endless energy, their determination, and their brilliant creativity. They taught me so much, really they did. And any research recognition that I receive truly belongs to them. And I'm very grateful that a few of them could be here today to share this special moment with me. So they're sitting at the back. On a more personal note, I would like to thank my husband of 38 years, who's also sitting at the back, whose love and unwavering support sustain me through good days and bad. I am so grateful to have a partner who takes such great pride in my accomplishments. And finally, I would like to thank Ohio State, first for taking a chance in hiring me as the first woman in chemical engineering faculty at a time when engineering was still considered quote unquote non-traditional for women. And then giving me the opportunity to grow both personally and professionally. I couldn't have picked a better career choice than what I had at Ohio State, and I will always be grateful for that. I also would like to thank my colleagues in the Department of Chemical and Biomolecular Engineering Department and the College of Engineering for all their support. I am extremely humbled by this recognition, and I'm a proud Buckeye through and through, and I always will be. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Congratulations to you both. It has been a true honor to be part of the Distinguished University Professor ceremony today. Your accomplishments are outstanding, and thank you so much for bringing your students as well as your family. Before I turn the podium back to you, Chairman Heminger, I just want to ask members of the board if they have any questions for our two professors. Yes, Erin.
Thank you so much. Hearing you speak and how proud we are to have, you're proud to get there. We're incredibly proud to have you as a part of the Ohio State University and as a woman, leading these kinds of things. And it struck me, we were talking together when we were having this conversation, a couple of things struck me. First, for both of you, incredible amounts of firsts as women and moving through everything that got in your way. None of you talked about the obstacles. You just talked about how great it was coming from Turkey. You didn't talk about the change and how difficult that must have been. And then your work is changing the lives of other people. It's making sure that people, get what's fair as they come back through. We're, finding ways to go through chemical engineering in ways in which I can't possibly understand. I'm grateful you do for doing it more quickly, but just thank you. It's incredibly, it makes us proud to know that. And how far we've come. We talk about STEM projects. We talk about, how we can help women move up through the ranks, and you're just an inspiration for all of us. So thank you.
Yes.
Well, thank you. Congratulations to both of you. Truly outstanding. I had a question for Professor Ozkan. I started my career about the same time you did. I was trained as an engineer. They didn't teach us an awful lot, at least where I went to school, on program management or finance or all these things you need to be a CEO or a entrepreneur. And you mentioned how a number of your students have succeeded. I'm just curious, with everything you've learned, is there any advice you give your students today that are engineers on what they should study outside their field to better prepare them for those types of outcomes?
I think being versatile, being multifaceted is very important. We try to teach our students how to solve problems. It's not a very prescriptive curriculum. They don't learn or they don't memorize a lot of things, but they learn how to look at a problem, formulate it, analyze it, and then come up with a solution. And this really serves them well. Also, many of our students go on to get advanced degrees, some of them in MBAs or advanced degrees, law degrees, medical schools. So this will sound like a advertisement for chemical engineering, but in general, engineering, I think, is a great starting point for many of those career options.
Thank you. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Thank you. So just echoing the congratulations, this is incredibly inspiring. I know I feel comfortable speaking for all the trustees. It's one of our favorite things that happens in the year to see the incredible talent and what you are providing to our students in the next generation. And then I just had a quick question for Professor Chemalis. You've dedicated your entire career to leveling the playing field for others through the power of law. And thanks to you, I'm certain that our students are going out into the world as better citizens. What inspired you to become an academic?
I really was a product of my generation. And so when I came through college, there was a lot of activism. And I remember thinking, I'm going to go into consumer protection because at that point, Ralph Nader had come on the scene, and there was really a wave of young people, and women were in that wave, who had what we would now call the social justice orientation to law, which was pretty unusual. And what I have found over the years is that I like the metaphor of waves, because I find that, we're at another moment when people, students from all backgrounds come to law school. I was just mentioning how we've had tremendous rise in applications. And it's really been a result of wanting to see change and having a sense of urgency. So here we are again, and I think that's a very good place to be.
Any other questions? Chairman Heminger?
Well, thank you, Dr. Gilliam, for those introductions, and what a wonderful tribute to two extraordinary individuals. Thank you both for your dedication to Ohio State. And I think on behalf of the board and all of the visitors with us today, that we need one more round of applause for these two great individuals. Congratulations again. Now it's my pleasure to turn the floor over to President Johnson for her report.
Thank you very much, Chairman Heminger. Good afternoon, everyone, and a special warm Buckeye welcome to our new board members, Mr. Tom Matevsky and Mr. Tanner Hunt. I think we see Tanner on there all the way from Alaska, so thank you for joining us. I'd also like to officially welcome Dr. Gilliam to our Buckeye family. In her role as Executive Vice President and Provost, Dr. Gilliam is the Chief Academic Officer and focuses on our vibrant community of scholars that support the generation and sharing of knowledge. And how appropriate it is that her first duty at one of our first board meetings would be to recognize our two distinguished university professors, Professor Ozkan and Shamalis. I'd also like to thank Dr. Bruce McFerrin, who stepped down this month as provost to return to the faculty of his home college, CFAES. The university announced a number of additional new Buckeyes in the last few weeks. Dr. Jeff Reisinger has joined us as Ohio State's Senior Vice President of Talent, Culture, and Human Resources, pending board approval today. Dr. Reisinger brings a deep background shaping cultures and leading higher education, most recently from Texas A&M. And I would like to thank Mr. Paul Patton for his service over the past 9 months as interim Senior Vice President for Talent, Culture, and Human Resources. Pending board approval, Mrs. Cindy Levitt, an accomplished IT leader with 3 decades of experience in higher education and corporate America, will become our next Vice President and Chief Information Officer. She comes to Ohio State from Temple University, where she also serves as the CIO. In our colleges, we're pleased to welcome a pair of new leaders, Dr. Carol Ann Trotman, who is our new Dean of the College of Dentistry, effective this week, and we welcome her from Tufts University School of Dental Medicine. And she'll build on the accomplishments of Dr. Patrick Lloyd, who announced last year that he would step down. Dr. David G. Horn, Associate Executive Dean for Undergraduate Education in the Colleges of Arts and Sciences, has stepped into the role of the college's interim executive dean, Dr. Gretchen Ritter, who served as vice provost and executive dean since 2019. Dr. Ritter will become the chief academic officer and provost vice chancellor at Syracuse University in October. We wish Dr. Ritter and also Dr. Lloyd all the best in their future endeavors. In terms of initiatives and partnerships, we're about to close a very busy summer of engagement with Buckeyes throughout the state, the nation, and the world. I was thrilled to attend my first Ohio State Fair and ride in my first Pelotonia. Team Buckeye, which is the honorary rider, I guess, of the Super Peloton, raised $2 million for cancer fighting research at the James. And overall, Pelotonia saw 10,500 participants who raised $13 million. Our gratitude goes out to every rider, volunteer, and donor. Congratulations. And earlier this month, we celebrated our 2021 graduates at summer commencement, and we welcomed back our class of 2020 to campus for an in-person graduation celebration at Ohio Stadium. Our thanks go to Nina Day and Coach Ryan Day, who spoke with passion and spirit about mental health and taking care of yourself and each other. Speaking of athletics, a record 26 current, former, and incoming student athletes represented the Buckeye Nation and their countries at the Summer Olympics in Tokyo. Buckeyes took home 4 medals overall, including 2 gold, 1 silver, and 1 bronze. We're looking forward to cheering them on here at Ohio and Ohio State all this coming year. And that's also the same day as the start of our autumn semester classes, which begin next Tuesday. As Buckeyes return to our campuses, we're committed to providing many traditional Buckeye experiences with the most up-to-date and community, and with the most up-to-date information as we move forward with regard to keeping everybody safe. And Ohio State's Welcome Week, which will be next week, will be an exciting return to the traditions that we've loved and missed. We will kick it off by inviting 13,000 students who are new to campus to a convocation. Welcome Week will also include the Student Involvement Fair and the 24th Annual Community Commitment Day in Columbus. We're looking forward to seeing all of our Buckeye student athletes back in action as well. And tonight, the women's soccer opens up against BYU. And continuing on Saturday, we'll be back in the shoe with also DeBittle. We will continue to work closely with the city, state, and federal officers to monitor the virus and help ensure that we can return back to our college experience in and out of the classroom, in and out of the shoe, and all the other activities throughout the fall and beyond. To that end, the university has been planning for months for the robust in-person reactivation of our campus. I'm proud to state that about 75% of our faculty, staff, and returning students are fully or partially vaccinated against COVID-19. We are looking to provide opportunities in the community for people to get vaccinated through our Buckeye Vaccination Tailgate Tour in partnership with Kroger, and has made 3 stops in Mansfield, Newark, and Pequot this month, providing Ohio State swag, selfies with Brutus, and most importantly, vaccination shots. I'm especially proud of our team for pulling together these community events and delivering on our land grant mission. And in particular, I'd like to give a shout out to Senior Vice President Melissa Shivers, who organized in concert with the rest of our community these tailgates. I have a quick, short video that captures the spirit and excitement of these events. If we could play that video now. Thank you. I just wanted to let you know that our focus on safety extends to physical and mental well-being of our Buckeyes as well. Last month, I joined Governor Mike DeWine and presidents from Ohio's public universities at the State House to introduce a set of zero-tolerance anti-hazing principles. These include automatic dismissal of any student convicted of criminal hazing and debarment from attending another Ohio public university in accordance with the law. Earlier this summer, I asked Dr. Melissa Shivers and Senior Vice President for Student Life, and Dr. Bernadette Melnick, Chief Wellness Officer and Dean of the College of Nursing, to co-chair a commission on how we can further promote mental health and well-being. I look forward to working with our Ohio State University Commission on mental health to enhance the support we offer our students, faculty, and staff. If you or someone you know needs help, please call the Suicide Prevention Hotline at 1-800-273-TALK or reach the crisis text line by texting the number 4 HOPE, all one word, to 741-741. Additionally, Ohio State Wellness app is designed for students and offers tips and guidance useful for all members of our community. Our Ohio State is equally committed to the physical safety of our off-campus neighborhoods. We continue to make progress on the 15 recommendations from our Community Safety and Wellbeing Task Force, with 13 fully or partially implemented. Just want to say a few words to wrap up in terms of excellence in academics, research, and entrepreneurship. Ultimately, we want Ohio State to be the absolute model of what a land-grant university should be in the 21st century. Earlier, I mentioned that Dr. Gilliam will lead our efforts to significantly increase the number of net new tenure-track faculty. These new faculty members will be critical to maximizing the academic experience for our students, as well as advancing our powerful research enterprise. We plan to recruit 350 net new tenure-track faculty over the next decade. Dr. Gilliam will also be responsible for guiding our RAISE initiative, short for Race, Inclusion, and Social Equity, led by Interim Director Dr. Trayvon Logan. As part of this initiative, focused on hiring, retention, and research, we will include new faculty whose work addresses social equity and racial disparities across disciplines, including healthcare, STEM education, the arts, social justice and public safety, environment, resources, and leadership. At the same time, we are working with the Task Force on Racism and Racial Inequities to issue summary findings or recommendations. And our cross-disciplinary teams of Ohio State scientists and scholars have already received funding through 2 rounds of our Seed Fund for Racial Justice, investigating new avenues and opportunities to address anti-racism education, stress, emotion management, infant mortality, and many, many more topics. We also want to applaud the Wexner Medical Center Anti-Racism Action Plan, in which Chancellor Hal Paz reported on during the Wexner Medical Center Medical Board meeting this week. Ohio State continues to be at the vanguard of research and discovery. We're on track to set a new university record of 970 million in research expenditures this year. The work of our Enterprise for Research, Innovation, and Knowledge is led by Dr. Grace Wong. And as you know, we have an ambitious goal of doubling our research expenditures over the next decade. And with Dr. Wong as the leader, I have no doubt we will accomplish that with all the talented faculty, including our outstanding distinguished faculty we heard from today. Dr. Wong emceed the beam topping ceremony for our new interdisciplinary research facility, a milestone for the university's innovation district. And we are joined at that topping off ceremony by the governor, Governor DeWine, Lieutenant Governor John Husted, Jobs Ohio President CEO JP Nassif, and other community partners. This extraordinary facility will help advance our convergent research goals and be co-located next to our Energy Advancement and Innovation Center. In late July, we hit another milestone. We became a member of the first regional partner of the Chicago Quantum Exchange, based at the University of Chicago's Pritzker School of Molecular Engineering. That same day, we announced that Ohio State was awarded not one, but 2 of the 11 new National Science Foundation institutes focused on artificial intelligence and research applied to the environment and edge computing. This will bring to the Ohio State University and their partners $40 million over the next 5 years, and they're renewable. This exciting news helps supercharge the work of realizing AI's full potential, whether to improve personalized healthcare, boost smart mobility, enhance food security, and augment the creative arts. I also want to note a really outstanding thing that happened this summer, and that is an item that's on our consent agenda today. Dr. Ratan Lal is endowed professorship. In 2019, Dr. Lal became the first Ohio State scientist and the first soil scientist ever to win the Japan Prize. A year later, he won the prestigious World Food Prize, referred to as the Nobel Prize in Food and Agriculture. Dr. Lal, as outstanding as he is as a scientist, is even a better human being. He donated his entire prize money for both awards to establish the $1 million endowed professorship will be hosted at Ohio State's College of Food, Agricultural, and Environmental Sciences. His generosity to our university and his commitment to agriculture on a global scale continues to inspire. Just as important is our work to bring amazing Ohio State research to market and quickly make an impact. The university invested $20 million in Rev 1's Fund 2, which aims to support high growth companies in Ohio and beyond. Our corporate partnerships team also signed master research agreements with 2 companies, Chemical Abstract Services and Kroger. These agreements, new for Ohio State, eliminate the need to negotiate a new agreement every time a new research project is envisioned. Another great example of how we are moving with the urgency and effectiveness is the establishment of the President's Research Excellence Program, which includes 2 types of grants: accelerated grants of $50,000 to empower small teams at Ohio State to pursue novel, high-risk, high-reward research projects. And they were announced in late February. The program was announced in late February, and by the first week in June, we awarded the first 19 teams. And I really want to give a big shout out to Dr. Grace Wong, Dr. Peter Moeller for your great work getting this program off the ground so quickly. It's also an example of shared governance because this idea actually came from our President and Provost Advisory Committee, which was referred to earlier, PPAC. So we took that idea, was a great idea, and we got it right into practice within 6 months. Additionally, we're excited about the news of 3 more Ohio State startups in the past year: Cayuse LLC, an IP company; CareDx, a precision transplant medicine company that acquired TransChart, an Ohio State provider of electronic health record software that was started by our own Dr. Ronald Ferguson, a faculty emeritus in our College of Medicine. Another keystone area of excellence comes in our service to those in the communities in which they live. One of the most important and fundamental ways we serve is to make Ohio State education more accessible and affordable. We've committed to becoming the first university in the nation to offer a zero-debt bachelor's degree at scale within this decade. This is especially vital for our low-income students whose four-year graduation rate is 11% lower than our average. We are confronting head-on the barriers to equity in higher education, and starting this fall, for example, and due to the generosity of the Honda partnership, new $5,000 scholarships are being awarded to students majoring in electrical and computer engineering who are active in the National Society of Black Engineers, the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, and similar organizations. That's just one part of the recent expansion of our 20-year partnership with Honda, which also includes co-ops, internships, and research. Affordability is very important to our graduate and professional students too. We've increased the graduate student stipend by $5,000 per year beginning this month. These steps comprise the next iteration of our founding mission to ensure the benefits of higher education can be shared by all. And our mission extends beyond the borders of our campuses and into the clinical care we provide. Last month, we celebrated the opening of the Wexner Medical Center outpatient care at New Albany, an example of the university's longstanding commitment to provide Ohioans who live in local and maybe outside of Columbus as well, resources and expertise from our clinic. That same week, the best hospital rankings were announced, with the Wexner Medical Center ranked in 10 of 15 specialties. We're also recognized as high performing in 13 of 17 procedures and conditions. Providing this level of excellence to families in Central Ohio is the reason we are expanding our reach through outpatient care and expanding the breadth of our services in Columbus with a new inpatient hospital. On Tuesday, we were joined by Congresswoman Joyce Beatty, Ohio Department of Higher Education Chancellor Randy Gardner, and Columbus City Council President Pro Tem Elizabeth Brown at the site of the new hospital tower. It's an inspiring vision. It's the biggest project ever undertaken by The Ohio State University, and it'll bring together clinicians, researchers, students, and families to be part of a national model of how we deliver transformative healthcare and training. Supporting the university's successes across our academic, research, and service missions we also had another strong financial performance this past fiscal year that supports all these three activities. We heard highlights from Senior Vice President CFO Mike Papadakis and the Audit, Finance, and Investment Committee, and our gratitude goes out to him and his team and the members of our committee for their careful and vital stewardship during these challenging times. Fiscal year 21 outperformed fiscal year 20, and driven by ever more efficient work and continued positive momentum in the health system and our strong investment performance. The long-term investment pool increased by $1.4 billion over last fiscal year, a 29% return, and outperformed the policy benchmarks. A thank you and appreciation to our new CIO, Vishnu Srinivasan, whose efforts combined with the important time, talent, and treasure of our alumni, friends, and supporters will help prepare us to our aspirational vision for the future of Ohio State. To close my report, I want to say once again that it's a dream of a lifetime to lead this storied institution. We have so much to look forward to, a return to the activities and traditions that we love on our campuses, and the promise of even greater progress in pursuit of our shared aspirations. I'm personally looking forward to my investiture in November. Planning is underway, and I appreciate the opportunity to further detail where I will have the opportunity to further detail our vision and programs. Finally, let me thank the members of this board, not only for your service, advice, and guidance over the last few days, but over the last year, and for what you will do in the future. And to the entire Ohio State community for all that you do. Go Buckeyes.
Well, thank you, President Johnson. We have now arrived at our consent agenda. Please note that we have placed 2 items for action directly on the consent agenda today. Our resolutions in memoriam, which recognize the passing of emeritus faculty members and our Distinguished Service Award. We have also included 4 hand carry items. Copies of these 4 resolutions are available upon request from our media relations team. For the President's fiscal year 2022 goals that we are considering, please note that the revised document includes the modifications that the Talent, Compensation, and Governance Committee agreed to during our meeting yesterday. President Johnson, would you please present the consent agenda to the board?
Thank you. We have 33 resolutions on the consent agenda. The university is seeking approval of the following: resolutions in memoriam, Distinguished Service Awards, amendments to the Statement of Expectations, amendments to the bylaws of the Ohio State University Board of Trustees, ratification of committee appointments FY 2022 to 2023, personnel actions, presidential review and compensation, approval of fiscal year 2022 presidential goals, degrees and certificates, faculty personnel actions, termination of Associate Professor Renee Olate, approval of FY22 capital investment plan, approval of FY22 Ohio State Energy Partners capital plan, approval of change in cost and scope to the FY20 previously approved combined heat and power facility capital project, approval to enter into increased professional services and enter into increased construction contracts, approval for roadway easement on real property, approval for acquisition of real property, approval for gift acceptance of real property, approval for lease of real property, approval to enter into a joint use agreement, approval of FY22 operating budget, approval of digital textbook fees, University Foundation report, naming of the Dave and Margie Williams Auditorium, naming of the Keith Monda Conference Room, naming of the McGee Family Plaza, naming of the Marcia and Alan Wool Lobby and Registration, naming of the Dan O'Neill Family Wrestling Locker Room, naming of the 33 Forever Welcome Room in memory of Danielle Leedy, naming of the Robert E. Arbogast Teaching Laboratory, naming of internal spaces in the Frank Stanton Veterinarian Spectrum of Care Clinic, naming of the Dr. J. and Janice Moodley Family Women's Locker Room, authorization for issuance of general receipts obligations and authorization of multi-year debt issuance of the university. These resolutions are now before the board for consideration and approval. Thank you.
Thank you, President Johnson. We will now hold 2 roll call votes. First, we will vote on items number 12, 19, 21, and 31 specifically. The fiscal year 22 capital investment plan, the approval for lease of real property, the fiscal year 22 operating budget, and the naming of the internal spaces in the Frank Stanton Veterinary Spectrum of Care Clinic. Please note that Mrs. Wexner, Mr. Fisher, Mr. Von Thaer, Mr. Kaplan, and Mrs. Holfinger have been advised to abstain. I will make a motion to approve these 3 items. Mr. Zeiger, would you please offer a second?
With pleasure. Second.
Will the secretary please call the roll?
Mr. Matevsky,
Yes.
Dr. Wilkinson,
Yes.
Mrs. Harsh,
Yes.
Mr. Kiggin,
Yes.
Ms. Kessler,
Yes.
Mr. Zeiger,
Yes.
Mr. Stockmeister,
Yes.
Dr. Fujita,
Yes.
Mr. Heminger,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Now we will vote on the remainder of the items listed on the consent agenda. I will make a motion to approve these items. Ms. Kessler, would you please offer a second?
Yes, second.
Will the secretary please call the roll?
Mr. Matevsky,
Yes.
Dr. Wilkinson,
Yes.
Mrs. Harsh,
Yes.
Mr. Kiggin,
Yes.
Mr. Kaplan,
Yes.
Mr. Von Thaer,
Yes.
Ms. Kessler,
Yes.
Mr. Zeiger,
Yes.
Mr. Stockmeister,
Yes.
Dr. Fujita, Mr. Fisher,
Yes.
Mrs. Hoflinger,
Yes.
Mr. Porteous, Mr. Heminger,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you. And before we close the meeting, I just want to compliment and congratulate the president on an outstanding first year of your leadership here at The Ohio State University. Well done. Let's give the president a round of applause. The next meetings of the Board of Trustees and its committees will take place from November 16th through November 18th. As the president mentioned, we'll also have her investiture during that period of time. Is there any further business to come before the board at this time? Okay, thank you for your attendance, and the meeting is adjourned.